You know, my mother was a single mother. She raised 3 girls on her own. And, you know, the saying goes like, you become a product of your environment. So basically that's what happened. So the companies were pushing you more, right? So you get a little 3% raise every year, but they want you to do double the amount of work.
Facts.
So it wasn't, for me, it wasn't lucrative enough anymore.
Makes sense.
So I decided to go into short-term rental.
What's going on, family? It's your boy Darius back with another episode of Influence to Impact podcast, where we have influential and impactful conversations. And today I got one of the ones, man. I got literally the GOAT when it comes to the real estate industry. So if you ain't taking notes, you just hate money. She's gonna be giving y'all a whole lot of game. One of my favorites, Catherine. What's going on, Catherine? How you feeling?
I'm good, G. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad to have you. It's been a little minute. I've been trying to get her on for a minute, y'all, but she here today. For those who don't know you, just introduce yourself. Tell them who you are and what you do.
So my name is Catherine, and I am a 6-figure Airbnb superhost, and I also have a 7-figure real estate portfolio.
Talk. She came out the gate swinging. I love that. So you already know. Once you give them credentials, people want to know because I want to know. So today, I'm kind of cheating, like I'm using this because I want to get into real estate. So you really gonna be giving me some free game. So what I like to do to start off the podcast, before we even get into like the tangible game, the tactical game, is I want someone to see you and say, damn, if she can do it, I can do it, right? That's a big part of this podcast and why we started it. So talk to us about, before you were this 6-figure Airbnb host, the 7-figure portfolio, how did you get to this point?
Well, the struggle was real. So basically, I grew up in Brooklyn, East New York, Boulevard Projects.
I hear it.
And, you know, single mom. You know, my mother was a single mother. She raised 3 girls on her own. And, you know, basically, like, you know, the saying goes like, you become a product of your environment. So basically that's what happened. So me growing up, my 2 sisters went one way and I went the other way. So, you know, I was in the streets when I was like 16. I did meet the love of my life, and he was a street runner. So we both ran the streets together. And we did a lot of things, you know, things that I don't really want to discuss at this point in my career. But, you know, society would look, you know, frown upon it.
Absolutely. Let me ask you something. Do you think growing up in Brooklyn, growing up in that environment, do you feel like it helped you with becoming an entrepreneurship, with becoming an entrepreneur you are? When I think of Brooklyn, I think of grit, I think of overcoming, I think of figuring shit out, getting things done. Do you feel like that's translated into who you are now?
Well, the streets taught me a lot.
Yeah.
So, you know, my grind came from the streets.
Facts.
So I don't regret it.
I love it.
I don't regret it. It definitely molded me and shaped me to who I am today. And I feel like being out there, I learned a lot. I'm aware. You understand? I understand what's going on around me. So it kind of like give me a head up on just other things that people are not really too familiar with.
Facts. Okay. I got this saying, it's same principles, different sport, right? And I feel like a lot of times what I heard from that was you didn't let what happened to you actually happen for you, because again, those principles apply to the business you're in now. So fast forward now, right? I know you were a nurse.
Right. Okay. So just to take a step back a little bit. So anyway, like I said, you know, I met my person, but he was tragically killed.
Sorry to hear that.
So what happened, that was my transitional period. So when he was killed, you know, I kind of like took a step back a little bit and kind of reevaluated my life. You know, a couple of steps forward, I had my 2 children. You know, my son's father, he got locked up and was in the feds for 20 years when I was 6 months pregnant. And, you know, my daughter's father, we just didn't work out. So I was kind of like transitioning from that whole situation to being a single mom. You know, I had to get in, you know, public assistance, Section 8. Shit was hard.
Yep.
You know, so that was my down period. You know, so, you know, eventually I got a job working in the school because I had to kind of like transition with my kids. I had to be there for them. I couldn't afford, you understand, like childcare services and stuff like that. So I had to get a job that meets the needs of my children.
Kids,
So I took advantage of that. And when I was working in a Board of Ed, I just decided to go back to school.
Wow.
So I worked in the day and I went to nursing school at night.
Wow.
And in 2013, I got my nursing degree.
Hard. Hey, sound like real life superwoman over here. That's crazy. I think that that alone, if we didn't even continue the episode, I think that's so inspiring because I feel like, you know, in life, and we always say is like, you can have excuses or you can have results, but you can never have both. And what I heard from your story was, it was like just things happening to you. And a lot of people probably a lot of people would have succumbed to that pressure. A lot of people would have said, or I'm backtracking, right? But to go through all that and say, out of this, no, I'm going to continue to find a way, that speaks volumes. And again, as we talk about entrepreneurship, I believe it's not what you do, it's who you becomes in that process. So you could probably be doing anything and it would have all worked because of the principles that you have applied to your life. So shout out to you for that. Definitely inspired. And I'm sure hundreds of thousands of people will be as well. So you get into nursing school. I heard nurses, I know y'all getting that money on, is what they saying. So a nurse, obviously you're doing well, right? Someone who's making money, what is that transition like going from nursing to full-time entrepreneurship and that process? Is it scary? Like, how were you feeling at that time?
So at first, like becoming a nurse, that was like I was like, I'm good, you know. And not only did I work one full-time job, I worked two. So I was making six figures early on. So, you know, I transitioned, you know, I left Brooklyn, you know, and I purchased my first home. And I moved to Jersey. And just overall, like, I just felt like during that period of me working nonstop, I felt like there was no end goal. There was no end goal there. So I started looking into other outlets. So I felt like even as hard as I was working, like I was working 12-hour days, I just felt like, damn, like I'm just working to pay bills.
Yeah.
You know, like I got this big, beautiful house in Jersey, the car of my dreams, you know, the things that everyone kind of like aspired to get, you know, while they transition. And it just, I was working to pay bills. Like I wasn't enjoying my life. I was like, and it seems like I was working harder. The companies were pushing you more, right? So you get a little 3% raise every year, but they want you to do double the amount of work.
Facts.
So it wasn't, for me, it wasn't lucrative enough anymore.
Makes sense.
So I decided to go into short-term rental.
Wow.
So I literally sacrificed, and that's another thing too, like when you're getting into this space, sacrifice is everything.
Yeah.
Right? So I literally sacrificed my home that I purchased, and I converted my garage into a small living space. And I rented out my home, and that first year I made six figures in my home.
Off of
Off of my home.
Wow. So you turned the garage into an area. Now, did you rent the top as well, or did y'all still live at the top?
So the whole house, it was like, you know, like almost a 3,000 square foot home.
Okay.
So what I did was, you know, my kids is older, they're adults. So I just figured like, you know, I mean, the money it was taking out of my paycheck, I just figured like there was a way for me to turn this liability into an asset.
That's hard.
So, like I said, I sacrificed, and people were like, "Oh, you're a bug. Like you're crazy. Like why are you gonna sit there and your house is beautiful? Like this house is not paying me."
Facts. It's taken away.
So it's taken away from me at this point. So once I converted it, like I say, it was I moved from a 3,000 square foot home into a 400 square foot garage.
Wow.
So like I said, the sacrifice has to be there in order for you to understand.
That's so hard. No risk, no reward.
No risk.
And I'm saying people probably be looking like she did what we all said was crazy, and now she's eating. Shout out to you for that. That's amazing. I think everything you're talking about is a lesson, and I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they would listen to what other people said. Yeah, I do got this beautiful house, and you know it does look like everything's all perfect. But you said, nah, like right now this isn't paying me. Not only that, is it taking away from me. So now I'm gonna turn that into now a cash flow asset. 6 figures off one crib. That's crazy. You know we're gonna get into that next. So this is the part where you're gonna be giving me some free game. So short-term rental, people hear about it all the time. Does it require a lot of money for me to get into short term, or is it something like, how can I get into it? What kind of money do I need?
So initially when I did the short term rental, like I said, I put my own money out of pocket because this is my first home purchase.
Yeah.
But as I scaled into short term rental, what I did was I maximized on getting business funding.
Okay.
So at first, you know, I wasn't too familiar about business funding, so I really didn't have much experience in it, but I did a lot of research back in, you know, I built out my LLC so it could be a fundable LLC. And then what I did was I used my personal, you know, stature, my personal credit history to kind of co-sign for my business to get 0% funding and then scale my Airbnb business.
Fire. Love that. So we can get into it. No money out of. She low key just gave y'all some credit games, some credit sauce. So if someone has good credit, they can go to the banks, build relationships, and get funding in their business name without having to provide like documentation stuff.
No.
Damn. What does good credit look like? Is it a number? Is it profile? Like what does that look like?
So the good thing about it, and I will tell everybody that at one time I wasn't credit savvy.
Mm-hmm.
So I would tell you, like, if you're going to get into the credit space and you feel like you're not there, I get it, because I claimed bankruptcy one time in my life, and I get it, like, you're just not knowledgeable. Like, financial literacy was not taught to us.
Yes.
So just overall with the credit profile, once I claimed bankruptcy once, I was like, you know what, I got my second chance. I'm just going to make sure I do it the right way.
Fire.
So I did, a lot of personal building, a lot of primary accounts.
Dope.
Build really good relationships with the banks, so that they saw, like, I was purchasing and paying back. Mm-hmm. And then, I was able to do like credit line increases and be able to get like comparable limits. So now going over to the business side, my personal structure was, $200,000 on a personal side. So when the banks looked at my profile, they were like, she managed, she has a mortgage, she has an auto loan, she has primary revolving accounts that she's responsible for.
Fire.
So, that gave me,
leverage.
The leverage to go into the business funding.
Wow, that's dope. And I think that's good for people to hear. It's like, a lot of people think credit is like some algorithmic thing, but it's like, it's common sense. We're going to give her money because she's been responsible for all these different type of accounts, and account diversity is very, very important for y'all. Mm-hmm. So now you have this funding. All right. I want to know, can you show a person how to get into the short-term game, whether they own or not own, or do I have to own probably first?
No. So you can do what is called Airbnb Arbitrage.
Okay.
So you can actually get permission from other landlords to use their property for corporate housing. So I wouldn't really say short-term rental or Airbnb, because it's kind of looked upon, because, some things that go on with Airbnb that's not acceptable.
Makes sense.
But what I will say is that, you can get corporate leasing and let them know that you're going to do, short-term rentals.
Okay.
Anywhere from 2 days to 30 days max.
Okay.
So what you do is just convince the landlords that basically you're the better fit than a long-term renter, right?
Fire.
Because you're going to maintenance the property. You're going to make sure it's clean all the time. Any expense over, $500, they won't be responsible for. So you take on that, you assume that responsibility of things where the landlord feels like, okay, this is really a hands-off situation.
Makes sense.
And then also you guarantee them rent and long-term leases.
Makes sense.
So instead of doing a 12-month lease like someone and just have frequent turnarounds, you're guaranteeing them a 3 to 5 year lease.
Wow. So now it's a win for them. So that's why they let you do it.
Yes.
Because do you pay? Do they try to charge you more because they know you're doing it, or
no?
Oh wow.
So typically they don't. It's just whatever the
agreement is.
Yeah, whatever the agreement is, and then they do their little annual increases. So that's typical.
That's fire. Okay, so I can get in without even owning it. Now that's dope. So profitable locations. Like if I'm new, how do I know? Because I tried an Airbnb one time, but I didn't do the homework because I didn't have a you in my life, and I was losing like 3 to 4 bands every month. But what I realized is because I didn't do the initial homework. So how do I find profitable locations or enhance my chances of getting a location that's going to be profitable?
Right. So they do have softwares out there, especially like AirDNA.
Okay.
Things like that are also Rabbi. They have things on software platforms that you can actually utilize.
Okay.
I do use AirDNA to get basic information.
Okay.
I don't use it as a go-to. Okay. What people don't know, and this is the source I am going to give you, is that Airbnb is the best platform to use when you're doing your market research.
Wow. Wow, y'all heard that. You ain't gotta go to the other softwares. Airbnb got y'all. So what is if I'm looking, what is a good occupancy rate that I should be looking for on average in there?
So anything around like 70% or 70. More.
Okay.
That would be the ideal occupancy rate.
Okay.
And then also, like I said, you would use, that's something that you're gonna learn on my webinar.
Mm-hmm. But that's it.
If you do use Airbnb, you'll be able to kind of like get an idea if that location, based on calendar bookings, like future calendar bookings,
Fire.
You'll be able to determine whether or not that would be a good area to invest in.
Fire. Okay, I love that. Now, I know a lot of people talk about, Airbnb itself, and you mentioned it briefly, but I hear there's like a whole bunch of different like platforms. What are some other platforms outside of Airbnb that people can use? And when you do that, like when you list it on many different platforms, is there a way that you can set it up so like it's blocked off on one while it's booked, or do you have to kind of do that manually?
Yeah, so they have a merge calendar. So
Okay.
you can use, there's other booking sites. They
Okay.
have Vrbo, they have booking.com.
Okay.
So if you're not getting high bookings on Airbnb, you can implement other platforms to actually, kind of service and to, maximize on your booking rate.
Fire.
But overall, you do have a calendar that you merge. So that merging calendar will kind of like work with each other to say, okay, Airbnb book these dates. So then it'll block it off on Vrbo so that it won't be a double booking.
That's tough because I always wondered like, do you have to do it manually? That's good. So essentially, it's automated almost.
Correct.
Okay, that's dope. I love that. I love it so far. I'm thinking about getting one, but I'm a person where I'm real busy with my business right now, and I don't want to have to be going up to the units and cleaning in between. So, I love automations. What are some ways that I can automate the business or some tools I can use so I don't have to be so hands-on?
So automation is, you can do like turnover B&B.
Okay.
They have a cleaning service where they come out and do all your cleanings.
Right.
You can outsource dazzling cleaning. It's just so many other companies you can use.
Okay.
You can also use TaskRabbit, which is also very popular in the Airbnb space, where they have individuals come set up your whole house. So you don't even have to do it. You can, maybe train a virtual assistant to do all your ordering. You have TaskRabbit or some other people come out and actually build everything out.
Fire.
And then you have a cleaning company that will come in and actually do all the cleaning services.
Ooh, okay. So you don't got to do much.
No.
In
And
terms of
they
that.
also have co-hosting now where
Okay.
people, you don't even have to live in the state. You can have people that live in the state kind of manage it. And that's a
Hard.
new feature they have, co-hosting on Airbnb.
Wow, that's hard. That's hard. So if someone, you just get so much sauce. I got a little. I started thinking, my wheels start turning. But okay, so I love this. So I can outsource the cleaning, and obviously I'm guessing you interview them, and after that they just kind of go. The next thing I want to talk about was over delivering, right? Because I've been on Airbnb and. It's been situations where the communication's been a little off with the hosts. I've stayed at their units. And I know, like, you're a busy woman. You're doing real estate. You all over. You out here helping people change their lives, getting money. Is there a way you can automate the communication part with the customers, like for responses and stuff like that? What does that look like?
Yep. So on the Airbnb site itself, they have like set messaging. So you can like automate a lot of messaging that you don't even have to have a real human individual do it. So like if someone books, I have set automations that come in just welcoming them.
Okay.
I also have, intermittent ones, like how's everything going? Just want to check in. And then also I do have a lot of, like I said, pre-recorded messaging, like say for instance, Wi-Fi.
Okay.
So they might say, okay, what's the Wi-Fi information? They may not have
Pop up.
So it automatically generates based on the keywords.
Ooh, like a mini chat kind of in the internet word. That's hard. Okay. Hey, she giving y'all some sauce, y'all, and you teach this stuff, right?
I do.
All right, cool. We're gonna talk about how y'all can get help because I'm definitely gonna be in whatever she teaching. All right, so I love that. So we went into the automations part. We went into the cleaning part. We went into how to get it zero money out of pocket and how to find profitable units. Now, if someone wants to make six figures, they can do this. If they're doing the arbitrage route, can they do that with just one, or do you recommend like scaling a certain number of units, or what does that look like? If someone wants to get that six-figure number.
Well, it depends on their risk tolerance.
Okay.
Right. So, you might have someone that their risk tolerance is low, which is understandable. Okay. They're just getting into the space, so they want to feel comfortable getting into the space. So they probably will rent a cheaper unit. But if you want, if you have a higher risk tolerance where you're okay with spending $4,000 to $6,000 per month on a rental property, then remember the return on that will be big. A lot higher. So I don't do quantity. I do quality, and I scale I don't need to scale a bunch of units.
Makes sense.
Because the more units you have, more responsibility. And it doesn't matter if you automate it, as much as you automate it, you're still going to be involved in the, some form of the day-to-day.
That makes sense.
So for me, I like to get units that will be super profitable where you have less responsibility and the automations will be, a higher quality.
Profit. Now that makes sense. I ain't gonna lie, I'd be with that too. Cause I can imagine having, like you said, even with automations, if I got 10 different units, now if you got a headache from even 2, it don't sound like a lot, but now it's 2 I gotta deal with versus just having 1 unit that's gonna bring it. So that's good. So when people are making this money, obviously, they're excited. And I heard you mention earlier, like thinking what's next when you were at the job, right? And you found your purpose, and now it seems like, you like it and you're a lot more happy and stuff like that. But what I want to know is for people who are making all this cash flow, when we talk about generational wealth, what are some ways you recommend people to take their money from short term? What do you recommend them doing with that money?
So what I do recommend, because the tax man is coming, right?
He is.
So he's coming. He's coming to get you. So if you scale and you make enough money, my suggestion and my strategy will always be to reinvest into real estate. Not long term. So the same way that you would do a market research on an arbitrage, do the same market research on a on a real estate investment.
Okay.
Right. So you can still do the same thing, but now instead of renting the property, you own it. Oh, wow. So you transition it into your own and make an asset.
That's fire. Okay. So long term.
So yeah, I would transition. So if you make $20,000, $30,000 a month, they have a program where it's a DSCR loan.
Okay.
You can put 20% down, no income verification. Wow. It just has to qualify based on the ratio. Okay. So you can put 20% down on a home, and you can do the same short-term rental, do the same market research, and make anywhere from 6, hopefully to 7 figures when you scale your property.
Okay, so now essentially what we're doing is we're going from, obviously, let's say the arbitrage, you were getting the cash flow but no equity. Now what we're doing is we're getting the same or even more cash flow, right? Because and now we're creating equity, which is going to help you over time and the ones behind you and stuff. So the DSCR loan, all right, so I know someone's going to want to know, how much do I need to come with? I know you said 20 to 30%, but that could obviously look different, right? So houses, the pricing in different markets is different, right? But if I'm brand new, because I don't know nothing about real estate, what do you think I need to come with to the table before I can leverage one of those DSCR loans?
Well, it depends on the property, So if you're getting, $100,000 house, you only got to bring $20,000 to the table.
Okay.
Okay. So it's just basically like where you want to actually have, purchase the property. Okay. And like I said, do the same type of market research so you know that property you're purchasing is going to be profitable.
Gotcha. What's some things I should look for when doing, or where can I go to do market research for housing?
Oh, you can do, go on Zillow, Realtor.com. You could still go to the same platforms that you would look for houses. Okay. AirDNA does have a feature where you can put in as a purchase price and it will let you know if that house is profitable. Fire. So they do have it for arbitrage and for also purchasing.
Fire. I love that. Okay. Now, I love that. This is good. So you get a house, you're going to be Airbnb in and out. You have more leverage because you're not paying nobody. It's all to the pocket. We love that, right? But in terms of outside of the DSCR, what are some, because I've heard people talking about hard money lenders. Does that come into play with this play at all, or?
Well, if you want to actually, like, say for instance, you want to buy a distressed property. Okay. Which I do as well. Okay. So if you want to buy a distressed property, you're kind of like, it's like a value add, right? Okay. So you can use a hard money lender or a private money lender. You can do the same type of market research. Okay. But the only difference is that you're not, with a DSCR loan, it's a house that's already, you don't have to do any work.
Set. Oh, okay. Set. So the DSCRs is already together, and the distressed, those are wrecked.
It's just right. So It's a purchase property that you can just walk in, you can move into. That's for a DSCR loan.
Gotcha.
But for a hard money and private money lender, that's more so like if you do like a fix and flip or a BRRRR.
Okay. All right. Now this is making sense. All right. I love it. Now I hear also about people always tell me, I'm thinking about getting into real estate. Everyone's like, yo, you should go Section 8 because you get a percentage of the money up front. Do you recommend that? What are the pros and cons of that, or what are your thoughts on that for someone listening?
I mean, I just love short-term rental.
Okay.
I don't really. I mean, long-term rental.
Yeah.
It's a slow rat race.
Got you.
You know,
We want that cash
I don't
flow.
knock nobody to do it.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
Please don't be mad at me.
Not talk that talk.
Section 8, Section 8 long-term rentals, the profit margin is bare minimum.
Okay.
Right. So if you want a property and you want to make, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month per property, then long-term rental in Section 8 is not going to give you that.
Gotcha.
So that's why for me, I prefer to do short-term rental, whether it be arbitrage or a purchase. I'd rather do it because you're always gonna.
That's hard.
As long as you do the market research, you'll profit.
That's the most important part. I love that. So okay, so for people who are getting this, they got their short-term rentals. They're creating cash flow. Now they're owning. They're still getting cash flow, but now they own. From that point, right? At what point, if there's a point, do you say, let's get into what do they call it? Built 20 unit, 30 unit buildings. Like, would you see yourself going into those eventually, or are you thinking house arbitrage forever?
It depends.
Okay.
It depends on the deal. Like I'm not at that space yet, but I won't never
do it.
Into that space.
Okay.
But yeah, definitely. If you get into, I know a lot of building units that they do mixed use now,
Gotcha.
where they have long-term rentals. And then they also do Airbnb,
Okay.
So that can be an option for an individual that wants to scale up and then you want to have multiple properties in different places. They can get a commercial property and then do the same.
Okay. I've heard about people like squatting or where basically they make the mistake of allowing a person to rent for like 30 days. And at that point, in Atlanta, I guess this is like a big thing. They you can't kick them out. So obviously, besides lowering the time they can stay, is there anything that you can do when that does happen, or have you ever experienced anything like that?
Well, I will tell you.
Yeah.
I don't rent anything past 30 days.
Oh, you're not playing. Like it's if they come to you like, I got that bag, like 10 bands for 60 days. What's up? What we doing?
You want to have that man in that house for 12 months for free.
Over 10,000, right?
Right.
Nah,
right. So, I'm not gonna,
not risking it.
I don't risk it.
Okay.
So I don't do anything past 30 days.
Okay.
There are other options for individuals that, sometimes they don't want to do short-term rentals because you have to be strategic too, right? Say, for instance, you do all your market research, right? And things really don't pan out the way you want it to pan out. I do teach other strategies that I will in my webinar.
Yeah, lock in with her. Yeah.
I will teach other strategies that you will definitely have to think of other options, right? So it could be short-term rentals, it could be mid-term rentals, which is also very profitable.
Is it like the nurses? Okay, yeah, my pops, she was doing that. So they usually stay for like 30 to 90 days. But I heard the thing with them, correct me if I'm wrong, is the thing with them is it's paid up front because it's from their job, and usually they're just there to work, so they're not like bad tenants, or not tenants, but bad.
So if you want to do transitioning from the Airbnb short-term rental 30 days, I won't go past 30 days.
Okay.
I will go over 30 days for midterm rental.
Got you.
Because those are more like medical professionals, individuals that are like traveling. So you don't have those type of issues. I mean, it could be, if it does happen, it would be a rare occurrence.
Okay.
Right? Because most of these people are working professionals.
Makes sense.
So that will be another strategy that you can use when you do your short-term rental market research. Okay. You will look for definitely the market to see if short-term rental would be the best option, but you will always do a back end and always say, okay, you know what, if this doesn't work out, let me make sure that this is maybe close to some hospitals or things like that, so that if one, always have two options.
Options, makes sense. Have something just in case, need leeway. Right. That's so good. Man, this was a masterclass in itself. I know the people want to know that we dove into it a little bit, but there's people out here who's like, I got to tap in with Catherine, but I need to get some funding. So when she showed me these plays, I could go run them. So I want to get into business credit card stacking, because a lot of people are talking about that. And a lot of people making it seem like it's super sophisticated. Can you break down what that is for the people and how they can start getting access to these, business lines of credit or business credit cards?
Yeah, so definitely what they would want to do is definitely first look at their personal credit, because majority of the time, if your business is not 2 years old and it's not making any type of income that you can show proof, you're going to have to personally guarantor your business. So the first step will always be to just look at your personal credit, work with an individual that understands the back end of, building a structured personal profile, and then you will maximize on the business side. So 10 primary accounts, definitely, low inquiries on your credit report, and then definitely a structured LLC. So the LLC, definitely a lot of individuals will use just high risk names.
Yeah, real estate is
high risk.
So they shouldn't have it in a business name.
No.
What do you recommend, like some type of names that they could add?
I mean, my short-term rental business is Citrine 13.
Fire.
So
Simple.
it's not even anything dealing with real estate.
Hard.
It doesn't say anything in it. A lot of people, they can use, they could use their name. They don't have to just, be so extravagant, but just don't, put real estate in it. It's definitely a high risk industry.
I love that. Okay. Now, can people, these business credit cards, how do people liquidate these to be able to get into the real estate? What's some sites or some places that they can go to liquidate them?
Yeah. So once everything is, said and done and you're able to get approved for business funding, you can also, I believe it's Plastique. You can use Milio. You can use QuickBooks. You can use PayPal Business.
She putting y'all on game, y'all. Go crazy.
Yeah, you can use PayPal Business. There is a lot of options to liquidate. You can also, if people don't know, like on the business side, you do have what is called like your normal credit limit, and then you do have what is called a cash advance. So the cash advance, you can actually get consolidated checks from the bank that will allow you to deposit the available cash advance limit.
She going crazy, y'all. Hey, make sure y'all comment, go crazy under this episode. Wow, you just put me on the play. I really did not know that. So shout out to you for that. All right, so she gave y'all about 5 places y'all can go to liquidate the credit cards when you get them to be able to purchase real estate. A lot of people don't know that you can use credit cards because we just haven't been taught it. What are some of your recommendations? Like if I'm a person with good credit, a business is structured, what's like 2 or 3 banks that have 0% interest that you would recommend I go to get some funding from?
Definitely the first one I would say is Chase. Chase gave me about $75,000. So
say it again. How much?
75.
Sheesh. Crazy. I love that. And then so Chase, okay.
Chase is definitely, top on my list. Definitely Truist.
Love it.
Truist gave me about $40,000.
Let's go.
And then I would definitely say, maybe Bank of America. I built a really healthy relationship with Bank of America.
Fire.
So they gave me several business lines of credit.
Fire. And a lot of people don't know that. Bank of America, you can get multiple business credit cards under the same inquiry. So that's some gems for the people. So she just told y'all how to get a quick 100,000 plus. I'm just letting y'all know. This was so good, Catherine. What do you have coming up that the people can tap in with you and I can tap in with you on? What do you got coming up? Any classes, anything like that?
Yeah, so I'm working on, providing a webinar, a free webinar for individuals that are interested in short-term rental and how to transition profit into assets.
Fire.
So that's something that I will be teaching. It will be a free,
love it.
Free event.
Free?
Free.
Hey, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop her link to her free class underneath this episode. Make sure y'all get there. I'm gonna be there. We're gonna be there learning because the way she gave this out today, I can't wait to see what's in the class. How can the people follow you, like your socials and stuff like that?
So I definitely have Instagram.
Okay.
So they can go to cleartoclose.
Okay.
.co, and that's my short-term rental and real estate page.
I love it. I love it.
You can follow me there.
I love it. Final words of encouragement. I love to end off the episodes with this because I know there's somebody who's like, they heard this and I know they're inspired, but they might be stuck and they might be in a place where maybe things are bad or they're trying to figure out what are 1 or 2 things that you could tell a person that they could do immediately to change their situation.
So I would say definitely like don't hesitate to start. Like just like don't worry about like if you're gonna fail or you know, because at the end of the day, if you never start, you will never know.
Facts. That's so
So
good.
you just have to just make sure you just, you know, push through. And it's going to be obstacles in between, but, you know, you can definitely navigate through those obstacles.
That's
and,
a fact.
You know,
And make it
and
happen.
be successful. Yeah.
That's a fact. If you never start, you'll never know. That's a bar. That's a bar. It's so true. I think a lot of times people just, they think so much, like they got analysis paralysis, and it's like, if you just go fail 1, 2, 3 times, by the 4th time you'll be good. Or even if it's by the 10th time, you'll be good. So I think that's so important for the people to hear. So I want to say shout out to you, Kat. I'm super excited that we got this thing popping. Yeah. I know the audience is gonna be super excited, and I'm just truly inspired by your story. More inspired by where you're going. Continue being great. Continue loving on the people, and yeah, it's another episode of Influence to Impact podcast with your boy Darius, Catherine. Make sure y'all like, subscribe, share this thing out with 5 to 10 friends. We're going to be giving y'all free game, bringing on rock stars every single week. And on that note, we'll see y'all next time, family.